Hey folks, this is Ardwulf, and welcome to another episode of Ardwulf Presents. We are coming to you from Vanguard's Saga of Heroes, which, as you may have heard, is now free-to-play. The official free-to-play date was going to be August 14th, which is tomorrow as I'm recording this. However, it looks like Sony has gone ahead and soft-launched free-to-play about a week early. Of course, they did this while I was out in the woods camping for a week, so I missed the initial rush, but that's my problem, not theirs. So we're going to go in with a clean, free account, and not quite clean. I actually have a character on this account already, but it's not my main account. It is a free account, and we're going to make a character, and I'm going to explain all the differences. I've never done a character creation video for Vanguard before, so we're going to cover a little bit of that as well, and we're going to talk about the brand new, big edition, the Vanguard Marketplace, which is Vanguard's free-to-play cash shop. So first of all, we are going to choose a race and a class, and this is a significant change from the Vanguard free-to-play package that was originally announced, because the way it was announced was there were going to be some free races and some free classes, and you were going to have to pay to unlock the rest of the races and classes, much like it works now in EQ2, but that has changed. Instead, what we have is some races are just free and some classes are just free, and the rest are limited to level 20, which is actually kind of substantial level in Vanguard. Vanguard is not a game where absolutely every character is already at the level cap, so you can get a lot of play in to level 20 before you make the decision to whether you want to unlock the class and race for further play or not. And we'll talk about exactly what all that costs later on in the video. So we're going to talk about the different races available. There are 3 continents in Vanguard: Thestra, Kojan, and Kalia. It's been years and I still can't pronounce all of them correctly every time. These are all, well, Kojan's not that huge, but it's pretty big, and the other 2 continents are absolutely massive. I've mentioned this a number of times before in previous videos, but if you don't know, the world of Talon that Vanguard is set in is enormous and huge and vast and deep. It's one of the best fantasy worlds of its kind in MMOs as far as I'm concerned, and you can spend countless hours honestly just exploring. But we'll get into that later on. We're going to talk about which races first are available for free. For Thestra, you have the Thestran human and the Halfling are completely free and unrestricted. On Kojan, you have the Kojani human and the Half-Elf. And for Kalia, you have the Kaliathari human and the Mordebi human. And the rest of the races and classes are locked sort of behind a paywall. You can only play them to level 20. On Thestra, you also have Dwarves, High Elves, Volmane, who are like wolfmen, Varanyar, who are like these sort of not quite giants, but not quite human either, Viking-type guys. You have the Lesser Giants, who are actually giants. On Kojan, you also have Wood Elves, Orcs, Goblins, and Rocky, who are little fox men. I know my buddy Bo loves the Rocky. I have never been a big fan of the anthropomorphic races personally. On Kalia, you have Dwarves, Dark Elves, actually gnomes, Dark Elves. I don't like the gnomes. I don't like the gnomes in any game that includes gnomes, so these are no different. Yes, their hair is all goofy. Dark Elves, Kurashasa, who are these tiger guys, and the Varanthari. Now you may notice a similarity in the name between Varanthari and Varanyar, and that is because these 2 races have some lore in common. They were once one people that were separated by great geographical distances. And digging into that is actually kind of a cool early thing you can do in the game with either race. For classes, the free classes, protective fighters are basically tanks. For free classes, under protective fighter, you have the warrior, who's like your basic fighter. He's pretty much what you'd expect. Not a bad class, but not terribly unique either. Both the Paladin and especially the Dread Knight are more interesting classes. Those are limited to level 20 unless you pay to unlock them. For offensive fighters, you have the Rogue and the Monk are without restrictions, and the Ranger and the Bard are limited to level 20. One of the fears I had with Vanguard when it went free to play was that the game's got some really, really awesome and unique class mechanics. And it was my fear that all of those class mechanics were going to be locked behind a paywall, so that a new player, potentially who's never seen the game before, could come into the game and try a class, but he would be stuck with classes like the Warrior or the Rogue that aren't particularly interesting, and so get bored with the game without seeing any of the unique things that it has to offer. So I'm really happy with this particular change. There's some other things that I'm a little less happy with that we'll get to. There are 4 healer classes. We have the Cleric, who is much less like the WoW Priest, where he's not like a cloth-wearing caster. He's a plate-wearing sort of melee healer. He's much more similar to like the D&D cleric, or for that matter, the EverQuest 2 cleric classes. You also have the shaman and the disciple and the blood mage, and of those four, the cleric and the disciple, and disciple's another one of the really interesting and unique classes that Vanguard has, are free to play free to play completely. The other two are free to play up to level 20. For casters, you have the sorcerer and the necromancer are free, and the druid and the psionicist you have to pay to unlock beyond level 20. The sorcerer is pretty much what you'd expect. The druid is pretty much another one that you'd expect, although he has some somewhat interesting wrinkles that you get later on. The psionicist is a crowd control specialist, and the necromancer is one of Vanguard's relatively few pet classes. But it's not like, I am a necromancer, I will raise a skeleton to follow me around and fight for me. You actually build your pet out of parts that you get as you play, and it's actually quite neat. So just at random here, we're going to play a Kaliathari necromancer that we will name Moogle. Let's see if the game takes that. Muktari. And it looks like it will. So we're going to choose. We can choose here either the Isle of Dawn or the hometown. Now there are three. There used to be more racial starting areas. There are now 4. There's one on each continent, and there's the Isle of Dawn. I've never done a video on the Isle of Dawn either, and I'm not going to today. So we'll choose the hometown, which is going to be the Cliffs of Gelgad, which the hometown is really Khal, which is the major port in Kalia, and we'll choose the Talon server. We notice that it is at medium population. I'm not exactly playing at peak hours right now. Halgar, which is the long-abandoned EU server, probably has a slightly higher population, but I think at this point everybody knows to play on Talon. So if you're going to make a Vanguard character, by all means play on Talon. Nobody's on Halgar, even now, as far as I can tell. So we'll go to next. And now we will get to our character customization. Now, I'm not going to get really into this, except to note that there are a lot of different things that you can do with your character. You can adjust the height, you can adjust the build, you can adjust the head size. Not as good as Guild Wars 2, I think, by today's standards, but at the time, it really gave you a lot of flexibility that other games didn't give you. The one thing we will do is something that I am completely unwilling to put up with, and that is this dork-ass haircut. Actually, the haircut's not bad, it's the hair color. Everybody starts out with white hair for some reason. I don't know why. So give him black hair, make him a little darker complexion. And we do have some facial hair sliders that we can pick from. I don't really like any of these. This is something I'm hoping that now that Vanguard is continuing to get development again, that we will see is new hairstyles and beards and such. Something that is particularly harmful to the dwarf. In that they really don't have any cool haircuts or beards, in my opinion. And I like dwarves in every other game. We can also change their clothing. This is like the style of your harvesting clothes. We'll go with the vest. I always seem to go with the vest. I don't know why. And you can change the color of these too. But this really doesn't mean much. And this mood slider is entirely new, and I'll be damned if I can figure out what it even does. It's not something that I noticed before. You can lock these, of course, and then randomize stuff, but I elect not to do that. So we will just go to Finish, and we will go to Play, and we will enter Vanguard. As is my practice, I will show you how long the load screen is. I've made a couple of quick trips in since I got back, and load screens are about what they were before, which is not too bad. This initial load screen is a little longer than most, but remember that you really don't experience load screens in Vanguard unless you teleport, which probably you won't do that often in the course of normal play. So the world is seamless, there's no zoning or anything like that. And we'll wait for the world to phase in here, and as I believe I mentioned in a previous video, we got quite a few people down here, actually, at this weird hour. As I think I mentioned before, you always start in first-person view in Vanguard for reasons that aren't entirely clear to me. Now, this is a free account, so we're going to talk about a couple of things that I'm not terribly happy with. The first of which is this Become a Member button that you can't get rid of, as far as I know. And we can click it, and it'll take us either to the website or purchase membership, which will presumably also take us to the website. You can't get rid of this, and you can't move it. If I could put it down here, I'd be a little less unhappy with it, but I'm kind of annoyed by it. I do think this is one of the games that's worth the membership, but yeah, that's just me, and that's something I'll talk about at a later time, maybe. As you can see, you've got it's very scenic. I don't think I've ever caught this on video before, this particular landscape. You get some cool music down here too, as is also typical with Vanguard. Out here we have the open ocean. I think what I'm going to do, since I have no particular intention to play this character beyond the course of this video, is while we browse the cash shop, I will zoom us down. First of all, let us unlock the interface, so I can move windows around so I don't walk off the cliff. So we're going to go down to call. So you'll get to see that as well. So let's open the Vanguard Marketplace, and that's right here. We're crossing a chunk line. That's something that, actually, we're not crossing a chunk line. That's just a hitch. Not terribly shocked by it. Okay, so here's the Vanguard Marketplace, and you'll notice, I think, that it's pretty similar to what you would expect out of EVE Online's, EVE Online, EverQuest 2's Marketplace. It's relatively similar. You get your categories over here, you got your item list over here, and you get your description and preview things over here. And here we're hung up on a wagon, so let's get rid of that. I'm going to totally end up walking off this cliff if I keep going, so let's just go to the edge. I don't want to. I will time out if I'm just futzing around in the marketplace for 10 minutes, so we'll go here. And there's the city of Kal down below here, and none of the boats are resolved at this stage, but I'm guessing there's some player-owned boats down in the harbor. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so back to the marketplace. I've got 199 station cash. I have no idea why, by the way. They just gave me 199 station cash. Okay, I don't know if that's like a new thing. I didn't hear anything about it, but that doesn't mean anything. Sony doesn't tell me anything. So the green flag on some items mean that they're new marketplace items, and there's a category for new items. But of course, everything is a new item because the whole thing is new. So we're going to go step by step through the rest of the categories here, and we'll deal with equipment last because that's going to take a little more discussion. Under services, we find our class unlocks and race unlocks, and we have things like potions of advancement. There's a couple different ones. This one gives you 50% for 2 hours. This one gives you 25%. Of course, the 50% is more expensive. There's 100% on page 3 here. You also have potions that change your gender, and potions of amnesia that let you change your name. There's a race change potion in here as well. We have some interesting, what's the difference between the potion of disengenderment, change the gender and modify their customization options, and the gender change potion allows you to change your gender. Huh. Okay, that's weird. I don't know. Anyway, the potion of disengenderment here lets you change your gender, and here you have this shave and a haircut thing. Now, this allows you to change the appearance of your character. Now, previously in Vanguard, I considered this a feature personally. You could, at any time in the character selection screen, change the appearance of your character. I don't know if that's something that has been completely blocked out unless you pay for it now, or more likely, whether it's blocked out just for free accounts and gold players can just do it as they always could. I'm not sure about that, and that's not something that I'm going to be able to verify in this video. We've got a couple other interesting things here. We have a potion of forgiveness that removes your experience debt, and a potion of time reversal, which resets a single lockout timer. EverQuest 2 players will certainly be familiar with those if you've done any raiding or even some of the dungeons. There's comparatively little lockout timing going on in Vanguard, comparatively speaking, so this is kind of a smaller deal. That's kind of why it's so expensive. It really only applies to a couple other big raids as far as I know. You also have a potion of unbinding, which allows you to remove the soulbound flag from an item that was bind on equip. So if you got a soulbound item that you want to sell, for example, on the broker, which you can do as a free account, you just pay a little higher broker fee, then you can. So that's kind of an interesting idea. I haven't seen that before. If that's in EQ2, I haven't seen it. There's potions of unlocking, which let you remove the membership restrictions from an item. These are packages of 5 for 250 station cash. So basically, to unlock a single piece of gear will take 50 cents, unless you bought your station cash cheap like I did, of course. Now, that's something else I might mention. free players do have some gear limitations. However, by and large, the quest gear that you get as quest rewards is not limited, except maybe in certain cases. This is something that we haven't really felt out yet since this is so new, but that combined with the tier restriction makes me feel like the gear restrictions on free accounts are a little less severe in Vanguard than they are in EverQuest 2. But we'll see how I feel about that in a month. We have race change potions here. We have more race unlocks, and I think there's a couple other things here. Here's character slots. By the way, if you're a gold subscriber, or possibly only if you have a station access account, which I do, you get a discount on these costs. This is 900 points for a character slot, 900 station cash, about equivalent to $9. It's 1,000 station cash in EverQuest 2. That's something that I'm generally seeing, is that the purchases and the unlocks are a little cheaper for the most part in Vanguard. The gear unlocks tokens are not. It's one of those things that isn't. So we'll see how all this works out. And then you have this Witness Protection Pack, which gives you the Shave and a Haircut, the Disengenderment Potion, and the Potion of Amnesia. Consumables. I'm not sure what's up with this Consumables tab, but sometimes I click on it and there's nothing in it, and sometimes there's these 4 items. We don't have a ton of things here, but we do have a Charm of Escape, which is looks like a potion of some kind. It's a consumable. It has 3 charges. And it whisks you and your group members within 15 meters to safety. You have health potions, which heals you for 100% of your health, mana potions for 100% of your mana, and potion of quickened steps, which increases your movement speed by 20% for an hour. These are relatively inexpensive for 3 packs, I guess. Not the health potion. I'll probably actually buy a couple of them on my main. It would be worth my while to do that, especially since I'm getting 500 station cash free a month anyway. Mounts and pets, and we have some interesting things here. We have some vanity pets, as you would anticipate, and unfortunately this is where the preview tab starts to not work, so this preview tab seems to be pretty flaky. It does work on the equipment, it doesn't work on the pets and house items and stuff like that, so I can't show you any of these vanity pets. I hope that that's something that will get fixed. But we do have a bunch of regular mounts in here. These are not tremendously awesome mounts, to be honest. They are about equivalent to the Tier 2 mounts, which you can get at level 20, roughly. Say plus or minus 10% mount speed, I'm not exactly sure. They're definitely not as good as the Tier 3 mounts that you can get in the game for diplomacy or for adventuring. Not exactly game-busting here. But we have some other interesting things. First of all, you can buy flying mounts. Now, here we have the Wyvern. I wish we could see these. And the Griffin. And these are slower versions of the ones that you actually get through the gameplay. But they probably look exactly the same. They are 1450 station cash apiece, which is a little cheaper than what they would be in EverQuest 2, which is about 2,000 station cash. You do have to be level 50 in either adventuring, crafting, or diplomacy to use them, so I don't have any characters that are eligible, but hopefully if I work on it. And you have boats, and boats is where station cash is in full bloom here, because you can buy all 3 sizes and styles of boats. So you have 750 for the sloop, 1,000 for the caravel, and 1,250 for the galleon, in ascending order of size and awesomeness, pretty much. So you can pretty much buy your boats. I don't have a problem with that personally. It's kind of a useful item to have, don't get me wrong, but you're never gonna, stop dead because you don't have a boat. You can always swim if you got to go to some weird island somewhere, which you do for some quests. I remember on the Unicorn quest line, for example, you got to go to some relatively obscure island out in the middle of nowhere off the coast of Talia, and it would have been awesome to have had a boat at the time, but I didn't. So, oh well. Additionally, we have appearance gear, and we'll go through these category by category. We've got armor, and this is where the preview thing actually works. Oh, it shows me running. That's nice. Too bad I can't rotate the thing. Kojani Channeler's armor set. Kojani Knight's armor set, and all but one of these actually look pretty cool, I think. This is kind of cool. In a samurai. These are all Kojani. Well, most of them. The Kojani Sorcerer. Nice hat. Can't zoom in or out either on that. Well, the preview tab is completely new technology for Vanguard. The Kalian Chandler's armor set, that looks kind of cool. The Pantheon heavy armor looks fucking stupid if you ask me. It's something I'd expect in a while with the giant shoulder pads and big stupid looking helmet. Not a fan. But it's the only one I really radically dislike. Here we have the Sturhod armor set, which is kind of interesting because Sturhod is... Let's stop here for a second, pull up the game map. And why is my hotkey for the game map not working? We'll figure that out at a later time. Sturhod is down... This is the map of Kalia right here. Mount Sturhod is down here. And it's a dungeon, a big raid dungeon that has never been developed. It's kind of been on the back burner for, well, since Vanguard launched, and it never really got any attention. The zone's in the game, and you can go in and wander around, I believe, but there's actually nothing in there. The armor set is making an appearance now. It gives me hope that eventually we'll start to see Sturhod content, among other things. We are supposed to see some content. We know they're working on stuff. Here is the Thestrin Knight armor set, which isn't too bad looking, although that helmet looks a little on the weird side. The Thestrin Ranger's armor set. My main character, not this guy, is a Thestrin Ranger. Too bad I don't really like this armor. And the Thestrin Scholar armor set, which kind of looks kind of cool, I think, actually. Still kind of trying to get our way to Kal here without getting jumped by a critter. Now we're crossing a chunk line, so we get some lag. That wasn't too bad. We also have some miscellaneous clothing sets. We have these crafter clothes. We have diplomat's clothes. And we have... We got sidetracked there. And the Kojani Royal clothes. Why we only have Kojani stuff here, I'm not sure. It would be cool to have different outfits for the different continents, if you ask me. Actually, one for each race would be awesome. But this is new, so we'll give them some time to start developing this stuff more. And here we have illusions. Now, there's two kinds of illusions. There are petamorphs, which, as far as I know, are one-time use things that you use on your pet that only works on full pets, which kind of means to me that it only works on necromancer pets and the ranger pet, which the ranger gets at a relatively high level. But I'm not sure that that's actually the case. But they look to be, based on the cost and the description, they appear to be one-shot items, whereas these visages, which change the appearance of your character, are actual abilities that go into your spell book, but they're more, so they can be used over and over. But so you can be a mudman or a brownie or a gremlin, for example. We're going to relock our UI here, because I'm tired of that floating around. Among other things. And these, again, you can keep using these. You can turn into a lich. And again, I wish I could show these to you, but this preview tab's not working right now. So we're going to skip equipment for the moment and go to housing. And there is talk, in fact, SOE has said that they're planning on putting a housing license that you can buy with Station Cash to allow free accounts to get a Vanguard house. As you may know, Vanguard has persistent housing that is actually in the open world. So there are certain, and those are tied to certain housing areas which have designated housing lots. This could be problematic because there is a finite amount of space available, and unlike in EverQuest 2, a Vanguard server where you have a completely shardless and uninstanced world, almost, doesn't really have the ability to accommodate an almost unlimited number of players playing like EverQuest 2 does, where you can just spawn a new copy of the zone if the zone gets overcrowded. But you've got some furniture sets here. Again, the preview tab's not working, can't show you these. You also have these building blocks, which... did I actually lock my UI? Apparently I didn't. I must hit cancel instead. Anyway, you have these building blocks, which I don't know what they look like, but I assume they're like little things you can put in your house and like construct stuff out of them. So that's interesting, but we don't have the actual housing license around yet. Fishing is also something that is not available to free accounts. I kind of expect to see a fishing license available as well at some point. It was kind of a logical thing that they would make available. And here we have... We're getting a little laggy. Part of that's probably because there's more players in the game than usual, but part of that might be because I'm filming this too. Vanguard has generally been pretty easy, actually, on filming but I haven't really noticed any problem. I'm a little surprised there's no boats in the harbor, but maybe everybody's out adventuring instead, which would be awesome. Or maybe it's just a weird time and nobody's... I'm the only one on right now. I don't think that's the case. We can take a look at that later. Anyway, let's move on to equipment. This is the stuff that has some level of actual game impact. Although the mounts do too, but the mounts are either something you get at the top level or are not really any better than the mounts you can get in game with relatively trivial amount of effort. So we have containers, first of all. This is a good opportunity for me to talk about the different bag slot options that you have. As a free account, what it looks like is that you have 2 slots that are open to you. One is your general inventory, which I think is 50 slots, if I'm not mistaken. Looks like it. And you have 1 additional bag slot. Now, what I haven't seen is the ability to unlock additional bag slots. You can do that in EverQuest 2. I kind of think it's coming. I also kind of think it's not quite available yet. We still actually don't have the actual launch date met yet, so maybe we'll see this stuff as soon as by the time this video hits. And then these 3 slots are not available to you as a free player as far as I can tell, and that's why they're grayed out. I kind of expected the saddlebags to be honest. However, if you pull up your character panel, in addition to these, which are like your general inventories, you also have a crafting bag slot, and that's not, as far as I can tell, limited on a free account at all. A diplomacy, or harvesting I should say, tackle box, which you can put a big bag into, and a diplomacy container, which you can also put diplomacy stuff in. And then, I don't know if saddlebags can be equipped or not, because it's not grayed out here, but it is down here. So who knows what's up with that. We'll hopefully find out eventually. But these specialized slots, like the diplomacy pouch and the crafting pouch, are not limited as far as I know. This adventuring pack, for example, has 60 slots. That is an enormous container. It's bigger than your general inventory. Vanguard is a little more junk inventory heavy than it used to be, but it's still not terribly bad in that respect. It's not like Lotro, for example, where there's just no way you can possibly have enough inventory space. This is an enormous bag, but you can get pretty big bags just playing the game either also or on the broker if you want. So I don't know that the 2 bag slot limit is particularly a problem. Certainly up to level 20 to 30. Which will take quite a while for a free account to get anyway. You've got saddlebags, 60 slots again, by far the largest saddlebags I've ever seen in the game. Mine are like 18 slots or something like that on my main. You have a crafting bag here, which is 80 slots. You can easily, I don't know about fill it up, but you can use that much space in a crafting bag because you'll accumulate a lot of like weird little components and dusts and reagents and stuff and things that you'll use at your crafting table. Crafting is a video that why are these 2 guards lined up directly in front of me? That's just weird. But you can use a big inventory bag for crafting. But even the freebie pouch that you get when you start crafting is pretty big by itself, and it's quite enough for a starting crafter. And you have a diplomat's pouch, which we've got some bleed over text here, so I can't really see how big it is. I think it's 60 slots too. I'm not going to buy one just to find out. It's 500 station cash, and I only have 199 on this account, which I would totally be willing to blow, by the way. So now we're going to talk about the gear, and these caster gear, fighter gear, healer gear, and tank gear categories are where we have the actual stat-on gear that has actual in-game relevant stats. Now, each of the different categories, and healers have 3 different sets because you can have cloth, leather, and plate. But each of these has 4 different versions, and they're separated by level. So, like Caster's Creative Supplies 1, for example, is level 11 adventuring gear. Creative Supplies 2 is level 21. Creative Supplies 3 is level 31. And Creative Supplies 4 is level 41. These are the minimum levels required to equip this gear. Now, I have gone in with my main who is level 30, okay, and he's not particularly a awesomely well-equipped character at level 30. I would call him moderately undergeared, in fact. And I mean, that's with some gear bought off the broker and with mostly just stuff that he found out in the world or got from quests or whatever. And his gear is pretty much all, about 90% of it is better than the level 31 gear here. So if anybody's telling you that the gear that you can get out of the store with station cash is is superior in some way to the stuff you get by actually playing the game. That is not correct. In addition, this stuff tops out at level 41. The current level cap in Vanguard is 55. So you've got like a whole additional tier and a half on top of that you can't buy gear for. Now that's not to say that we won't see stuff eventually, but right now this stuff is not. It's decent gear that you can get to give you a little bit of a head start, but it's not anything earth-shaking. And of course, as I mentioned, for healers you have different crates for cloth healers versus leather healers versus plate healers. So that is a whirlwind tour of Vanguard's free-to-play implementation. I do expect a patch to hit on the 14th, which is tomorrow, which is Tuesday the 14th. We normally see patches on Tuesday for Vanguard, and actually for SOE games in general. And I anticipate maybe some more items showing up as soon as tomorrow in that Station Cache store. But that's an initial quick look at what's available. As I think you can see, we haven't seen a ton of other players around at the moment, but like I said, I'm also playing at an off hour here. We have a lot of cool looking sites here, and this actually up here is actually where we came from when we started playing. So it's a cool game, deserves a lot more attention than it's gotten. It did launch poorly for reasons which are pretty well understood at this point, and there are good reasons. There were a lot of problems when it launched, but it's still a cool game that I personally would like to see get more attention. So by all means, check it out if you have a Station Access account, or if you have a Sony account, or I should say an SOE account. You can go in and check it out for free as of now. It's a cool game. It is worth checking out. It's the kind of game that nobody really seems to want to make anymore. It's a very ambitious game that, while it might not have met all those goals that it had, it still has a lot of things to offer that are not at all common in MMOs anymore. You've actually got to work for your rewards in this game. Even with the things like the booster potions and stuff, those aren't really going to negate any of the work that you do. I like this game. I've kind of been a long-time fan of it. I didn't play it at launch, but and we got a flying person up here. It looks like it's a player. Yes, Zarky. It's a player on a wyvern. Look at the draw distance here. Look how far away this guy is. He's all the way back against these mountains, and I can still see that other player. I mean, what other game is doing this? I mean, yeah, these graphics might be dated in some respects, but man, I mean, it's just a stunning game visually. In only one other game can I think of where I'll be adventuring and playing and doing the game's content, and I'll just stop for a second and say, wow, I need to take a picture of that. The only other game that I've had to do that in is EVE Online. Just even Vanguard, where I've just been like awestruck by the amazing visuals that this game has, dated or graphics or not. I mean, you could say that all you like, and it's true. There's some truth to that, but at the same time, it's still a pretty amazing looking game for a game that's going on 5-6 years old now. So check it out by all means. It is free to play now. You can investigate it for free, and don't forget the periodic Station Cache sales that Sony has. So, and of course you have a subscription option too if you feel that that's worth your time. And this is a game that I actually feel is worth subscribing to. So, this is Ardwulf. I'm signing off. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will check out Vanguard Saga of Heroes now that it's free to play. I'll see you next time.